Hello everyone. Welcome you to this video of CC220 data structures, where you'll be introduced to the classes and objects of Java programming language. Before starting, let's give an overview of the two files that are currently present on the screen. The file I'm right now is a tester class, where you can find the main method. From this class, we'll create an object of a required class. In our case, it is the student class written here. So this is the student class. In a Java class, it contains several instance variables and several instance methods. We already know what methods are. A function that's written inside a class are known as methods. As in Java, everything is written inside a class, so there is no function, everything is a method. So let's look at the variables that are written here. We got 4 variables here: public string name, public int ID, public string department, and private int mobile num of a student. In order to initialize those values, we need a constructor, which is written here. We all know that constructor initializes the instance variables, and there are many types of constructor. The one we can see here is the default constructor, where the names, ID, department, and mobiles are set to its default value. And at the final line, there is a print statement which is saying inside default constructor object creation task. Let's see how to create an object of this student class from the tester class. In this tester class, we have written this line to create the object of the student class. In order to create an object of a class, we need to first write the class name, and then the variable name, and a new, and the constructor. Since we are calling the default constructor, therefore there are no parameters here. So let's see what happens after running it. So let's see compile and run. So we can see the output is inside default constructor object creation tab, which came from this block. Therefore, we can say that our variables are initialized with default values. If you want to set or pass multiple arguments in the constructor, then we can use a parameterized constructor, which is like this. Just like the default constructor, we will receive some parameters. In this case, we're receiving string name, ID, department, and mobile. They will be initiated using this variable. This is used to demonstrate the global variables of a class. In our case, we can see that there are 2 name variables. One is from the parameter and one is from our global variable. In order to mention the global one, we need to write this in front of the global variable. Therefore, we have initiated our global variables with the values that we get from our parameters. And just like the previous one, this constructor prints inside parameterized constructor object creation task. Let's see how this parameterized constructor works from the tester class. This is the object creation line, where again we wrote the student, the class name student, the variable name, and the new student, and this is the parameter of the constructor. We are sending the name, ID, department, and the phone number. So let's see what happens. We have created 2 objects. One was inside the default constructor, and thus the inside default constructor object creation done, and another was inside the parameterized constructor, and thus this method. So now we know that what is a constructor and how to create an object using those constructors. Now we will see how to create a method. A method can be written by initiating whether it's public, private, or protected, its return type, where it's void, integer, string, or any other data types, and the method name. A method can receive parameters just like the constructor. It can also hold blank parameters. So here we can see there are 4 methods: say name, get mobile number, set mobile number, and toString. We'll go to this later on. Let's see how to use this say name method from the tester class. We've created an object student1, which is basically a default file. So if we call the say name method, let's see what it says. It's printing student name is Zain. Now, the value was set to default, but it's printing Zain. Why? Because we can access the public variables and public methods outside of the class just by using the object name. So here we wrote st1.name equals, we set the name to Zahin, and ID to this, the department to this, and set mobile num to this. Therefore, since the values are public, we can access them outside the class. However, for the mobile num, we can see that it's written in private. What does private mean? Private means we cannot access this instance variable or any other instance methods that are written in public outside the class, or we can say this class. Therefore, in order to access this mobile num, we need to write 2 methods, get and set methods, to get the value of this mobile num and set the value of this mobile num. We can see that those methods here. Get mobile num and set mobile num. Get mobile num returns the mobile num, and therefore its return type is int, and set mobile num doesn't return anything, it just sets the value, therefore the return type is void. It receives one value, which is the mobile num, which is sent from here. Therefore, as we already initiated those values, the say name said that the student name is Zahin. Otherwise, if we didn't write this thing, it would have said student name is default. Yes, student name is default. Why? Because we didn't set any name to it. However, for the second object, we have already set the name from the parameterized constructor, and therefore, if we write st2.sayName, it will print the name. So this is the message from the first object and the name of the first object, and the message from the second and the name of the second object. So now we have saw how to create constructor, methods, and initiate variables. That's the basic knowledge for working with the classes and objects of Java. However, there's some additional information. As we can see, the class name is in public. If the class name is in public, the file name should also be the same as that of the class name. However, if we remove this public, we can set the file name as we want. And one last thing, which is the toString method. In Python, we have seen the str method, which basically gives the signature of an object. If we print an object, the address is supposed to be printed. However, if we initiate the toString method, just like this, then the object will print the method that the toString method returns. So let's see what happens if we print the object st1, which is supposed to print name, ID, department, and mobile. Let's see what happens. So this is what happened when we have printed the object. It called the toString method and printed the message that has been returned by the toString method. Hopefully, all of the basics that you need to work with the classes and objects in Java are covered in this video. Best of luck.